In 1997, the skies above Russia witnessed the arrival of an extraordinary aircraft, an aircraft whose wings seemed to defy logic, swept forward instead of back. While the concept of forward-swept wings wasn't entirely new, this was perhaps the first time it had truly worked in practice. Sukhoi envisioned this experimental jet as the future of Russian air power, and more importantly, as the answer to their eternal rivalry with Mikoyan in the race to build a fifth-generation fighter. Today, we'll dive into the remarkable story behind this bold project, the struggles, the ambitions, and the vision that gave birth to one of the most fascinating aircraft ever built, the Su-47, the dream of the 1980s. During the 1980s, the Soviet Navy had grand ambitions. They sought to dominate the seas, protect Russia's vast coastlines, and rival the unmatched naval air power of the United States. To achieve this, they needed a revolutionary fighter jet. Sukhoi's answer was the S-22, later designated Su-47KM, a supposed naval fifth-generation fighter. Officially, it was to complement the Yak-141, a lighter VTL aircraft. Unofficially, it was a secret meant to confuse Western intelligence. Although little was known about the project at the time, Sukhoi even produced a full-scale mock-up with an innovative flat exhaust nozzle. But before the design could progress, the Soviet Union collapsed, leaving no funds for ambitious experiments. Yet Sukhoi refused to abandon their dream. They realized this design might be their chance to outpace their rival Mikoyan in the fifth-generation race. Ironically, however, the roots of the Su-47's unusual design did not start in Russia at all. A Nazi legacy. The story traces back to the Third Reich. In 1944, Germany developed the Junkers Ju-287 bomber with forward-swept wings, hoping it would outrun Allied fighters. But the design placed enormous stress on the wings, which twisted and bent under pressure. Without advanced composite materials, the project was doomed. Still, the idea intrigued engineers worldwide, including in the Soviet Union. Years later, it would be the Americans who successfully revived the concept. America's X-29 and the Soviet response. In 1984, Grumman began work on the X-29, an experimental jet developed with NASA and the US Air Force. Using new lightweight carbon fiber composites, the Americans solved the structural problems that doomed the German design. Finally, a forward-swept wing jet could be flown. The Soviets were watching closely. By the late 1980s, they launched two programs, the MFI and LFI, to create heavy and light multi-role fighters to counter the ATF and future JSF. Mikoyan won the MFI contract, producing the MiG 1.44 prototype. But Sukhoi had a different vision. They weren't willing to let Mikoyan dominate unchallenged. If the government wouldn't fund their forward-swept wing jet, Sukhoi would fund it themselves. The gamble of Sukhoi. Sukhoi's leadership took a daring step. They internally financed their project, betting everything on creating a superior fighter. It was a gamble reminiscent of Boeing's leap with the 707 decades earlier. In 1997, their boldness paid off. The S-37, later known as the Su-47, took to the skies for the first time. This was no ordinary jet. Built with over 90% composite materials, it solved the challenges of forward-swept wings and achieved stunning aerodynamic efficiency. Large canards enhanced maneuverability, while two Soloviev D-30 F6 engines, borrowed from the MiG-31, gave it blistering speed and agility. Capable of reaching Mach 2.2, pulling 9 Gs and matching the maneuverability of the Su-35 or even the F-22, it was a marvel of engineering. Its weapon system was also unique. Instead of conventional bays, the Su-47 carried a rotating missile launcher inside, equipped with R-77s, with room for extra fuel or air-to-ground weapons, plus a 30mm cannon. It was designed to dominate the skies. Its stealth features were modest compared to the Americans' F-22, but design choices like S-shaped air intakes reduced radar visibility. The Su-47 was not invisible, but it was far less detectable than earlier fighters. Triumph and frustration. In 1999, the Golden Eagle, also called Berkut, was unveiled at the Mach air show. It thrilled aviation enthusiasts, and by 2000, supersonic tests proved its potential. However, at very high speeds, wing stress problems reappeared, highlighting the limits of even the best composites of the time. By 2001, the S-37 was officially redesignated Su-47, and by 2002, it had completed over 150 flights, serving as a test bed for next-generation technologies. Meanwhile, Mikoyan's MiG 1.44 was cancelled, and Russia launched the Pak-FA program. Thanks to Sukhoi's persistence and the data gathered from the Su-47, Sukhoi was awarded the contract to build Russia's future stealth fighter. The end of the Golden Eagle. Despite its brilliance, the Su-47 never was chosen as Russia's production fighter. The government opted instead to upgrade the Su-35 while pursuing a more conventional stealth design, the Su-57. By the time the Pak-FA program gained momentum, the Su-47's radical design was already outdated. Yet its legacy endured. For years, the Su-47 served as a valuable test platform, advancing avionics, radar, and electronic warfare systems that shaped the Su-57. In 2009, the legendary jet was displayed once more, now recognized as a symbol of engineering daring and resilience. It was a gamble, a challenge, and ultimately a victory of engineering spirit over adversity. For Sukhoi and for the history of military aviation, the Su-47 will always remain a legend.